David, we are live. We are back. This is not a serious Hornets podcast. How you doing, my friend?
I'm good, man. You can see I'm ready for the winter weather, the pastime. The boys of summer hung it up last night. Shout out to the Braves. I know you're a huge Braves fan going back
Huge,
literally weeks. So
huge. Well,
congratulations to
okay.
you and all the fans of the Atlanta Braves.
My this year's fandom, I think, yeah, does go a few
Okay.
weeks, but I definitely followed the Braves closely as a kid of
Yeah,
the '90s. I followed that team of the '90s. I followed them through their streak of NL East championships.
sure.
And then yeah, my baseball fandom dropped off a little bit, but I decided to get back on the bandwagon for this World Series run. Well, okay, I skipped the playoffs, but I did definitely jump on board for the World Series, and I watched every inning. It's easy to watch that late night baseball when you have a newborn
Uh,
kiddo.
all right, so let's get into it. I mean, you're a dad now, so you instantly jump into watching baseball. Like, what other transformations have you gone through?
Yeah,
You shaved the
listen,
beard. You
yeah,
shaved the beard.
I started watching baseball. I've got much more comfortable shoes.
Yes.
A lot of just wearing a lot of slippers. The jokes are way worse these days, even worse. Although I think I've
Wow.
been preparing my dad jokes all
Yeah,
my
I was gonna
life.
say that's you slid right into that one,
It's
but
kind of my thing.
hey, real quick,
Yeah.
before we get too deep into this,
Okay.
the Braves, and I don't
Mhm.
want to get overly political and
This is
too
not a
many hot
serious
button
Hornets
issues.
podcast. It's not a serious Braves podcast.
Now, if they just came out next year and they were the Atlanta Brave and they just lost the S on the jersey, do you think anybody would, I mean, think anybody notice?
I think
I mean, people would notice, but like, I mean, what's the
everyone
dude?
would notice. I mean, they're having trouble getting rid of an institution within that franchise that is pretty overtly
Mm,
racist. So I think people are even more so than they've been throughout their history. I think people, fans of the team, are acutely aware of any changes
I just
around that team.
that seems like the easiest one to me. Because you just drop the letter, maybe take off a few things on the uniform, but they still got the Atlanta, you still got the A.
You
You
could
have
do
to.
some Disney. There was a Disney movie called Brave. You could do some
I
Disney
mean,
tie-ins.
let's talk dollar bills.
Um, yeah, I like it.
Okay. Anyway,
I think you could just run it up to the chain. Talk to
yeah.
Manfred. He seems like a very fun guy. Seems open. Okay, let's talk about the Hornets.
Okay.
I want to catch up on all things Hornets, and then we can do some dad pod stuff later on because yes, I am a new dad, the proud father of baby Grace,
Yeah.
and I want to talk. I definitely want to talk about that because my life has been turned upside down in all of the best ways. And it is the reason, obviously, if you're just kind of catching up on the show, it is the reason we've taken a few weeks off because I just simply had to. So, but I'm glad to be back, and let's catch up on where we are Hornets wise. The team. I'm going to throw it to you, David. I mean, the team seems to be in an ideal place, even though they lost to the Cleveland Cavaliers. It was a tough loss, but it seems like they've gotten off to the kind of start we were hoping for when we discussed it before the season.
Exactly. I mean, we were early adopters that they had to get off to a
Had
fast
to,
start because of
absolutely.
what's coming up right now. Like the
Hmm.
month of November is going to be a hellscape for them, kicking off tonight at 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock, Doug, 10
Okay,
o'clock
I
is
know
the new
that. Yeah,
normal.
it is, but this is the only stretch where they have like consistent 10 o'clock tips. So they're going out on their 5 game West Coast roadie, and it's 10, 10, 9, 10:30, and then they wrap up at Memphis at 8 o'clock. Those times all Eastern. If you're like me and you're an hour behind, it's
Oh, man, I
a little easier on
forgot.
the eyeballs.
I forgot. How about shout out to a 10:30 start on a Monday
At
at the
LA
Lakers.
Lakers. But you know
Woo!
what's interesting? It's Monday, and we turn back. I think we turn back the clocks this weekend.
Oh, come on,
So
man.
it's
Again?
I think that's even worse. It's even
Yeah.
worse because you're going to lose an hour of sleep. You'll be even
So,
sleepier.
Well, yeah, but getting back to my point, I mean, they needed to get off to a quick start, which they did. Best start in franchise history, starting with the 3-0, capitalizing or capping it off with that nice win over the Brooklyn Nets in Brooklyn. But yeah, I mean, that was key for them. What's stinging them right now is these
Pun intended.
horrid starts they're getting off to, which
Mhm.
I was trying to decide today. Is it better that they're on the West Coast so they can kind of they feel like they've already started the first quarter of the game, or is it going to be worse because they're going to be jet lagged? I don't know, or it does not matter because they're playing Steph Curry and the Warriors. I mean, all the bad stuff that came with the slow starts came to a head against Cleveland on Monday night here in Charlotte. I mean, they almost got back into it, despite themselves, but just too deep of a hole they dug themselves.
So let's talk about how they've won some of these basketball games. Not to toot our own horns here, David, but we really kind of nailed this one in that we thought that the Hornets they had to get some early wins, and we thought they would do that by running very quickly and scoring a lot of points, and they've done just that. They're the 3rd best offense in the league, and we also thought that they had to do that because they were not going to be very good defensively, and despite effort, they're giving effort on the
Mhm.
defensive end. They're turning teams over, and they're not turning over the basketball a lot, which is nice to see,
It's a good combo.
but they are not good defensively. I think they're bottom 5, maybe bottom 3, in the league defensively. It's a disaster out there in terms of containing teams, especially in the half court. And honestly, it's all across the board. It's getting back on defense. It is the half court defense. It's penetration. It's points in the paint. And on different nights, it's 3-point shooting. They're just not doing a great job being organized on the defensive end. It is sort of Oppo kind of Steve Clifford land with this defense right now. So they have to figure some. It's obvious they've gotten off to a great start. They've got some stuff to figure out, though, David.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't help that in the middle they do have still that gaping hole kind of. Although I will say, which
Ooh,
Plumlee is it? Is it Miles
it's
Mason?
Mason.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's right. Okay. He's
It's
been
confusing. It's easy. They're easy to get mixed up.
he's been a lot of what they actually needed, which I thought was a big body, someone who could bang in there, a little more athletic guy, a
Mhm.
finisher when he gives himself a chance. So he's done, all he can, in my opinion. But yeah, the defensive end of the floor and the rebounding, you saw it last on Monday night against Cleveland, several shots, and again against the Celtics. That they just can't get that one key rebound that caroms off or happens to glance in their territory. So that's killing them. But every time I look up, um, uh, is it Cody or Caleb?
It's Cody.
Okay, it's Cody. So we got
Did you
that
just
clear. It's
say Cody?
Mason and Cody. uh,
How late have you been
uh,
staying up? I see, this you know what it is, it's you getting all of these sneakers. I've seen all of these, posts of yours where you're getting all of these elite sneakers from Nike. It's you staying up way too late
mhm.
hitting refresh.
That's right. That's right. But no, just I think on the defensive front, he's been good. He's been what they needed out there on the wing. But Lamelo has his struggles, and the other guys are just to your point. It feels like they're not connected yet on that end of the floor, which maybe that's to be expected with people coming in and out of the lineup and kind of getting used to Hayward being out there and Miles being here and Terry coming back in. Later on in the early in the season there.
Well, you're right, there are interior defensive issues. Although I will say in that last game against Cleveland, PJ Washington really
Mm,
stepped up and,
yeah.
again but see, we're seeing effort. We're seeing them turn the other team over and get extra possessions, which helps them on the offensive end. What they're struggling with really is getting stops. Because they can turn the ball over, they just can't get stops when they need to get stops.
But they are
And
getting him. I mean, they're getting him in bunches because 'cause they're making these, like,
yeah,
23, 24 point
well,
runs, they're getting back into these games, so the stops are coming
yeah,
sometime. It's just, like, over the course of a game, the floodgates open.
and you can tell Borrego is sort of frustrated by this idea that his team is resilient, right? He's
Right.
like, yeah, they're resilient, but at the same time, like, you don't always have to be in a position such that you need to be resilient. Like, if
They're
you're
asleep.
right,
They're not
if
awake
you
for
can
the first
describe
quarter.
the team as resilient for, like, 6 straight games, that means something's wrong. That
Right.
that means something has gone awry in the first couple of quarters, and you need to be resilient. If this team wants to succeed in the way that they want to, and to meet their goals, then at some point, you have to take some responsibility in the first half and shore some things up. And so that's really what the team is looking at right now, and hopefully this loss to Cleveland, a team that they should have beaten,
Yeah.
right, David? I mean, Cleveland, if there is a team in the NBA that is probably best suited to give them problems, it is Cleveland because they at times will throw like 3 or 4 centers, big bodies out on the floor. So it's going to be
Mhm.
tough for the Hornets to defend because they aren't very big. But at the same time, that I think that's a team that makes enough mistakes where you could beat that team. And it should be a wake-up call heading into this West Coast roadie.
Yeah, you gotta hope that some of the youth coming out on this team, still a very young team, one of the youngest in the league here, and maybe those slow starts are a product of that. Ish Smith is the elder statesman, of course. He's not on the floor for the starting unit, but I mean, it's a group thing to start these games this poorly. Uh, without a doubt for the first part of the season. So you just got to hope that right to your point, a wake up call. They learn from that. They start to say, "Hey, we can't blame the crowd. We can't blame the crowd." JB wanted a little more butts in the seats to start the first game of the season. There,
No,
Doug.
don't get me started on
Go-
that. Hey, JB, for real. You
Bruh,
worry about what you're doing,
he
and
was
the
feeling
fans will come.
real.
If you win, the fans will come. This
I
isn't
will say,
it's not like people in Charlotte are going, the Hornets are really good, but I got a 7 o'clock dinner. I can't miss it. No, like if the Hornets are playing well, but all of this stuff is on a delay. Well, because
right?
like people in Charlotte need to. I've always said this, like for the casual fan, the dad who doesn't pay close attention to the team, the mom and dad that want to just take their kids to see a show like they would go see the circus or go see a movie. They'll choose the Hornets consistently if they believe that there's a chance that there is a good chance that the Hornets are going to show their kids a good time. If it's in the back of their mind that's like, it's kind of 50-50, don't know if the Hornets are going to show up tonight, then they ain't coming.
Yeah.
And so that's what people are waiting on.
And so I took my 8-year-old to opening night, and I will say,
Mhm,
getting in
mhm.
to Spectrum Arena was not as smooth as it has been in the past. Now,
I believe
of
it's called
course,
Spectrum Center, but go on.
Spectrum Arena is it Arena? Okay, so we
I
got
think it's
Mason, we got
Center.
Cody, and we got
Spectrum
Spectrum
Center. Yeah.
Center. Um, a lot of that maybe the COVID protocols, get back in the swing of things, but they got some stuff to iron out just on the game day specifics. Be that as it may,
Gotta get there
yeah,
early.
not a not a great look, JB, on that call out of the fans to get in the seats early. But to your point,
This isn't
you can't worry
Miami.
about
What
Oh,
and
did
I
you
need
see that they never showed up in Miami? Oh, that was a Friday night. Now, I kind of get it, but yeah, there was no one there.
right, that's what I'm saying. Like it's not this is not Miami. It's not like people
Mm,
have better things to do and they're just lazily not choosing to see a great basketball team. The
yeah.
fans are waiting on there to be a great basketball team. LaMelo is helping that because I'll say I think it was against Cleveland or Portland, I heard chants. Um, I heard
Oh,
chants coming from the stands of
MVP?
like, "Ref, you suck."
Oh, Portland. Yeah,
Yeah, it was
for
Portland.
sure.
Yeah, "Refs, you suck." And so that was on a Monday night.
Yeah,
Oh,
maybe
so
Cleveland
that was
too.
Cleveland because I remember
Yeah.
tweeting it was on a Monday night. So
They've
it was a
sucked
"Ref, you
both
suck."
nights, so it could have been either one.
I think it was these calls against Miles Bridges. I mean, Miles been frustrated by some calls. He's gotta, I think
Well,
that's
I mean, yeah. If you want to talk about that game specifically, the free throw discrepancy was kind of crazy in that one. But yeah.
Borrego didn't really wanna comment on it. I wish the reporter would have pushed a little bit more, because Borrego was just like, "I've never seen this before," and it was like, "But what do you think that's your team not defending well and they're fouling a lot, or do you think that discrepancy is a little out of hand,
Hmm. Hmm.
and not getting really the respect of the refs in that game?"
Yeah, I think the bottom line is that they got to figure out a way to balance out the effort, right? I mean, they can't wait until the second quarter, second half to hit the gas on some of these games, especially not with this. You don't do that against any of these teams you have coming up. I mean, I'm including the Kings in that because they're playing pretty well. You got the Golden State Clippers. You just can't afford to do that. Not with this team. Not yet. I mean, some of these teams can chill for a quarter, but the Hornets obviously are not quite there. And if they want to make some headway, win a couple of these games on this West Coast trip, they're going to have to probably go 4 quarters of effort, which you've seen they can do, right? In spots like, to your point, like PJ and Cody had some good efforts underneath the basket, but yeah, they got to be focused the entire time. And of course, tonight, Doug, Golden State is a national TV game. It is on ESPN, so that has spelled doom for the Hornets historically.
Yeah, I mean, again, they were resilient against Miami
Hmm.
back on the 29th, that loss that they took on ESPN. But it
Miami might be
started
really good. Miami might be really, really good.
well, those are some of these East teams have been extremely
I
surprising. I mean,
know.
I didn't think much of the Knicks. I'm having to eat my words there, although they've got some defensive problems too. Like the Knicks and the Hornets are the 2 teams right now that are sort of the mirages of the East, and we gotta figure out whether they're real or not because both teams are playing extremely well offensively and extremely poorly on the defensive end, and so it's like Knicks or Hornets. Which of those teams are probably more apt to figure it out? I'd probably say the team with the guy who is known as a defensive genius, Tom Thibodeau. I think they're going to figure out. I think it's a real question mark whether JB can get these guys organized on the defensive end. I think it will be his coaching challenge because so much of what's happening in the game as a whole, both on offense and defense, is like improvisation. There's a lot of gambling on defense. There's a lot of not knowing exactly where you need to be. A lot of Borrego said in that first quarter against Cleveland they were scrambling a lot. So how do you? And I was reading this profile of LaMelo Ball in the Ringer, and it seems like it's what Borrego's challenge with LaMelo is kind of the same challenge he has with the entire team. How do you organize the chaos? Because the chaos is what makes LaMelo special. It's what makes LaMelo exciting to watch. It's what makes this entire team exciting to watch. It's not just LaMelo. Like you got guys like Ish, you got Cody Martin. They're just making decisions on the fly, moving the basketball very quickly and trying to jump ahead of teams before they even know what's happening.
Hmm.
How do you organize that without killing it? And that's what I think Borrego is probably spending some sleepless nights trying to figure out is how do I not strangle this team to death with my ideas and my film sessions? But at the same time, there has to be some level of organization or you're going to keep losing basketball games like you did against Cleveland.
Yeah, and really, I mean, Borrego does deserve a lot of credit, I think, for this quick start. I mean, he kind of threw, you don't want to call it like junk defenses and different strategies out there, but I mean, they had to approach it this way almost because of their deficiencies on the defensive end and in the middle. They had to get out and go, right? And it's been successful. I don't know that, looking further down the road, if it spells success in like a playoff scenario, just because, people have more time to break you down and study you over the course of a series. But they're kind of boxed into this strategy right now, and Borrego's been able to kind of figure out some things based on the players he has, which makes you feel good. And of course, having LaMelo, having your main guys healthy thus far is a big boost. I mean, I guess I was just looking at this schedule. I guess the brutal part month is more December, but certainly splitting, getting a split on this West Coast road trip and then coming back home for a couple games would be good because they're going to need to bank as many wins as possible.
Yeah, so this isn't their only West Coast road trip. They have a second big West Coast road trip that comes up in December, but it's mostly in the middle of the country. So it's Dallas, San Antonio. Portland is the 10 o'clock West Coast. Phoenix is at 8, so it's kind of an early tip for a West Coast game. Utah 9, Denver 9. Both of those mountain times, I think, not specific. Not I'm blaming everything on being a dad, by the way. I'm barely running on a couple hours sleep. So
That's one
if
of the
I
things
mess
you
up
get.
this show, I'm blaming it. I'm pulling out my dad card. Utah, Denver, 9 o'clock tips. And that doesn't really mean anything for the Hornets. It really just means for us viewers. It
Right.
gives us a little bit of relief. Um, but yeah, so everything in this West Coast road trip, except coming back this way for the game against Memphis, is out in California. So Golden State, Sacramento, Clippers, Lakers, and then Memphis. And Memphis, they're turning it on. They're figuring it out. Ja Morant, he's a star.
Well, I saw that in the preseason game. I went to the Memphis Hornets preseason game, set up pretty close. Shout out to my rich friends, but
Thanks, rich
uh,
friends. Not that's not a person named Rich Friends.
no, 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 no. But you could see it. It was really cool though to see that because this is a preseason game, Doug, and John Morant
Mhm.
played from tip until he went out as if it was like Game 7
Tip to
of a
ta-ta.
finals. And he was getting after it. You could see it in his eyes. He wanted to show LaMelo
You
and
can
whoever else
see it
was
in
there,
his eyes.
and he's carried that play through his start to the season. So yeah, Ja's really really doing it.
I feel like the Memphis Grizzlies are the Hornets like a year or two in the future. They're like just ahead of us. They've got Ja Morant, who's like ready to be like an all NBA contention. And that's like
Mhm.
LaMelo will be in a year or two. Just feels like they're what we will be in maybe 2 years.
Be
Uh,
nice.
s- so that's exciting.
Yeah,
Okay. I'm upset that they lost against Cleveland for a number of reasons, because it felt very winnable, and they kind of bungled away the last few possessions of the game in order to try to get back in it. But I'm most upset because there's no way to prove what I'm about to say, David.
perfect.
But when we did our season preview show, I started to mark because I thought, hey, wouldn't it be fun to like go through the schedule and like mark wins and losses? But I only got through November 1st before I quit, which was the Cleveland game.
Hmm.
And had they won, I would have gotten their record exactly right. And I only would have swapped. I had the Brooklyn game as a loss and the Boston game as a
I
win.
know it. I know it. Yeah.
So I had their loss against Miami on national television. I had the win against Portland, win against Orlando, win against Indiana, Cleveland. So I would have had their record exactly right. And I was going to come on this show and brag about how smart I was. But instead, I can't. Maybe I should just go ahead and should I just predict the next couple of like the next 10 games? We'll see how I do.
Absolutely.
Because I mean, honestly, like just being one off is pretty good. Okay. So, and I'm going to do this sort of like not thinking about it. Kind of what do they call that when you
Gut
write without
feel.
thinking? This is stream
Yeah.
of
Okay.
consciousness predicting. Okay. Here we go. Golden State. I'm going to go L. Unfortunately, I think they lose tonight in Golden State. Against Sacramento, I'm going to go dub. LA Clippers, I'm going to go W. LA Lakers, L. Memphis, L. New York, I'm going to say they win. I'm going to say they come back home.
Kemba comeback on a
Kemba
Friday night.
comeback, they get them. Golden State at home, I'm going to go win. They turn it back around. They get the win there. How many have I done so far? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right. Washington, I'm going to go win. 3-game winning streak. Indiana, loss.
Ooh,
One,
revenge
two,
game.
three, four, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I got one more against Atlanta. I'm going to go loss.
Hmm. So
So I have the Hornets
that's it,
next
guys.
10.
Get to your betting windows.
I've got Hornets next 10 going 5 and I got them going 5 and 5 over the next 10.
Even Steven. Okay.
I think I'm probably underestimating what the Hornets are capable of because they've already I sort of when I did the first 10, I sort of overestimated and they met that expectation, but now I'm underestimating. So I hope they don't go the opposite and way undershoot even my 5 and 5 modest record prediction.
And it's always interesting when you get the first true kind of road trip of the season to see how, maybe how the team gels, how they come together. They've started the season here. Maybe they could get some bonding in while they're out in California. Hopefully, just come together as a group. The Malik Monk revenge game on Monday night. Oh boy. It's it's gonna be a fun weekend, I think, if you're watching Hornets basketball and you're up late, which you'll have to be to watch Hornets basketball.
Oh, Tyler's predicting says, "I think we finally beat LeBron in
Well,
LA."
I
I'm
mean,
not betting on that.
no way. It's
That's
I
why
just
it
it's
that's
never
why
gonna
it ended
happen.
up an L on the sheet. History has been too unkind. I'm not ready. And it's gonna be shocking when it happens, but it's gonna be shocking for precisely the reason that I can't pick them to win the game. I can't
It's
believe yet.
brutal, man. It's really
Uh,
brutal.
Thank you, Tyler, for the welcome back.
Yay.
This is a good transition. We can do some dad pod here. Let's do some dad pod. Um, David, what questions do you I'll let you lead the segment. You're the reigning dad. You are the, veteran dad. I am the rookie dad.
Yeah, but we're all in the same boat now, buddy, as you're quickly realizing. And also, I just want to know all the advice on how quickly did the advice I gave you just go straight out the window, and it was just instinctual. You and producer Katie, how are we going to defend this? How are we going to play zone on this little bugger?
Well, I think, she came 10 days early, so we had
Mm,
another segment in us where you were gonna give me some more advice, so I was denied that. I really had to kinda go in, a little bit colder than I wanted to, but that's life, baby.
yep,
I did take your
get
one
used
piece
to
of
it.
advice that I did get, which is I grabbed the comfiest shoes I owned.
Yeah,
And you're
yeah,
right. There was a lot of standing. There was a lot of pacing. Although I'll say, things happened very quickly. It was
that's good.
chaotic. It was quick. It wasn't, kind of a day long thing. It was very kind of middle of the nighty. It was it was during that I was waiting on the can. I had some real fantasy implications in this. It was like Chiefs. It was the game that got delayed because of weather. It was Chiefs Bills. Had some huge fantasy implications. I was
Oh
like, "Oh, do
boy,
we have to go? Okay, all right, let's
what a
go."
rough night for you.
And it really was,
Yeah,
tough night.
yeah.
I think I ended up losing that fantasy game too.
Well, you won the big prize, buddy.
It's true. But yes, comfy shoes was a huge, huge nod to that. But fatherhood so far has been amazing. It's beautiful. It's a blessing. It's everything they tell you it will be. It's a few things they don't tell you about. I think on purpose. I think people
Yeah,
held things from me.
you can't tell everything. No
Can't
way.
tell everything. Um, but yeah, I recommend it. I'll say that. I
Oh,
recommend
okay.
A plus
Thumbs up.
plus.
Thumbs up.
Not sure if I'd do it again. We're gonna just be patient with that kind of decision making.
Sure.
But I would, recommend it. It's been fantastic so far. It's not over yet. Got about, uh, 17 years and 49 weeks to go.
There you go. It'll go by in a flash. It's one of those things where as soon as you figure out, as soon as you guys get your hands around and feel comfortable with one thing,
It
like right
changes.
now would be like, I mean, you're still in the diaper phase, you're in the formula bottle, all that stuff, right? Once you really get in the zone and feel good about that, it's on to the next. It's on to, there's something the next thing to get a hold of, and then so
Yeah,
on and so on and so on.
I've been thinking a lot about that because, we're in that stage where they say like the 4 to 6 week stage is pretty rough. And it definitely has its challenges. And so we're sort of looking forward to getting through that, but with this understanding that the next phase then presents its own challenges that you have to figure
Yeah.
out. It really I feel like for me, the whole experience has oscillated between, these periods of calm where you're like, I don't know what the big deal is. I don't know why people make a big fuss about this whole thing to oh my god, I don't know how the hell that happened, but I've got poop on my shirt somehow.
Right.
So
Yeah.
like those are the
Yeah.
two sort of oscillating phases.
And you're, I think, probably also in the stage where you're like, or you're about to get there where it's like, "Ah, man, I can't wait till she goes to sleep." And then when she's asleep, you're like, "I can't wait for her to wake up."
Yeah, oh, that's totally
Yeah.
true. Yeah, there everything is sort of duality. It's all like
Mhm.
I either want something a lot or I don't want something. But you Yeah, I think the whole experience turns on things in your body both like biologically, chemically, things that I didn't even know existed. It flips those switches, and it is something. When you talk to other dads, when you aren't a dad, you talk to them and they have trouble describing those things. And I get it now. Like I get that you really can only experience it. You can't really be told about it. Um, but it's pretty amazing.
Oh, yeah.
But getting sleep when I can, trying to manage it. Producer Katie and I have been really tag teaming. It's been a team effort. We're really super got a super support system around us. Can't thank the people, friends, family that have helped out, and fans of this show who have been not burning down my Twitter, asking when there's going to be another episode out. People have been supportive in that way too. So thanks for hanging in there with us. And Tyler, yeah, shouting out David, you're going to be part of Locked On Hornets Fridays. We didn't break that
Yeah.
news yet, but that's cool.
Jumping
Um,
back on.
Shout out to Nada, who got a huge opportunity on with CBS Sports. He's going to be doing some cool stuff, but it did unfortunately mean that he had to head out. So Tyler asking me about my status with LOH. My status is it's Facebook complicated. I don't know yet. I'm not. Uh, you know, um, we're in talks. We're in heated contract discussions right now about my role. About how because I want to do the least work and get the most
Right.
the
Sure.
most out of it. So I'm trying to figure out how I do that. So I'm continuing those discussions.
Good to hear. Oh, yeah, I can't wait to get back with Walker. I think it's a great idea what he's moving the show
Yeah.
into just a new phase. I'll be honest, Doug. It's a lot like being a parent watching Locked On Hornets kind of blossom and grow after we shepherded it along for a few years, and
Yeah.
I've handed the reins over. So it's good to be back. It'll be like checking in on a child in the teenage years. Maybe he's a jerk. I don't know. Maybe he'll be a jerk. I don't know. We'll see.
It's true, but at the same time, I feel like, both you and I might be, it might be the flip of that analogy where we might be the children who are moving back in with our
Oh,
parents for
I like that better. Yes. Okay.
like we're gonna come crawling back. Oh, the internship didn't work out.
Yeah.
I need to stay for a little while.
Yep.
But I want to keep doing this. I like this show that we've put together. I like jamming with the fans and doing it in an unserious way where we're not kind of obligated to really stick to. We can do some dad pod. We can do some other stuff. So I like this little playground that we've created here, where we can occasionally talk about Fast and the Furious franchise. Unfortunately, I haven't watched any more of the
No.
movies.
No, you're done with that for now.
Well, I
You
mean,
never know. You can throw it on during a feeding.
yeah, I mean, I would say like I just haven't been focused on my Fast and Furious because I have gotten to a few movies so far in this process because, with the newborn, it is there are moments of like brief moments of chaos where you're just trying to manage things.
Mhm. Mhm.
But there is a lot of just period of like just sitting around. So and I've been lucky enough to get a little time away from the main job, and
That's
um
good.
so we've been doing a lot of bonding. But yeah, you can throw something on the TV.
Oh, yeah.
So I've been catching up on a few movies that I've wanted to get to. So the Fast and the Furious, it's coming. The next movie will be coming
It's
soon.
always there for you. I mean, so you don't have to worry about it. It's not going anywhere. It's like a nice little blanket.
It's never
It's
going anywhere. It's
no,
it's
it's
going to be
never ever.
Grace is going to
It's
be
only
watching the newest installation with the Rock and LeBron's kid.
Oh, man. Hey, as long as we're just chatting about stuff,
Mhm.
the Hornets have some new uniforms, Doug. They're gonna bust them out,
Anyway, see you later.
next Friday.
Nobody's gonna like my opinion on this.
Next Friday against the
I got the
Knicks.
unpopular opinion on this.
Well, I mean, I've done a complete 180, I'll be honest. When I
I know
first
you
saw
have.
these
I was really
things,
disappointed. I thought I had you on my team, and then
no, I was completely
before we could
swayed.
even before we could even set sail, you abandoned ship.
Well, I always forget. I think it's always forgotten that until you look at the full Technicolor landscape of the release, right? Because every team puts these out. And if you look at
No.
the
Mm-mm.
scale from, let's say, the Hornets,
No, you're letting
which I
this
think
is
is the
you
most,
you are letting the culture
No. No, no,
determine what
no.
is good
No,
art.
no, no.
I'm looking at it on its own.
no, absolutely not. This is a release. This is a birthing of a set of uniforms, and I think if you put the Hornets up at one end, and then you put, the Oklahoma City Thunder, which is basically, underwear, down at the bottom because
Yeah,
they have nothing on theirs, and
I
that
didn't love that. It was
I
like
stole that
gray. It was
joke.
like it was light gray and
It's
white.
white. Yeah, and now someone did raise a good point. Has there been a team with worse uniforms historically than the Thunder? Have you ever
Oh,
seen a
just
good
overall, you mean
Yeah,
oh, no.
I
Mm-mm.
mean, it's pretty bad.
I've
So,
always said that they're sponsored by Loves, and, I've al yeah, that was my joke was that they're sponsored by Loves, and, like, their jerseys look like they belong in sort of the,
the Pampers aisle.
off-brand rack in a truck stop.
Yeah, but I mean, I was like everyone. There was a lot going on with the Hornets release, but these are one timers, man. So if you're gonna go for it, I say go all the way. Throw
S
all the stuff you have at them. I love to read, and this is Nike's special, specialty. All the reasonings they put in for different elements in the uniform. So the pinstripes are like the original ones. The number placement is a shout out to the Bobcats, which that I'm gonna say that swayed me a little bit. That was nice to see.
Well, the
Um,
hold on, that's
that's a
yeah,
r
I
I'm not
read this
saying I'm
too.
not
It's
saying they're not reaching, okay?
there
I'm not
well,
saying they're not reaching.
it was the biggest reach they could possibly
No,
reach.
no, no.
The right justification on the
Yes.
font
No,
is the nod
the
like,
biggest reach was the
like
Charlotte script.
yeah, being right justified, being a nod to the Bobcats
Yeah,
uniforms. That's
yeah.
hilarious to me
That was good.
because,
That was real good. Everyone remembers that. Classic Emeka Okafor. Everyone knows that.
right, and it's as if they sat there and went, "Okay, we can't nod too hard to the Bobcats jerseys because nobody
Right,
liked those.
right.
So how do we do something without really being noticeable at all?"
They nailed it, and they killed it.
Crushed it.
Now, as I was saying, the Charlotte script has never been on a Hornets uniform. They pulled that apparently
From the
from the
pennant.
pennants
Uh-huh.
that were part of the original 1988 Alexander Julian slash Kelly Trapuco release, and it's not even Charlotte that's scripted. It's the Hornets. But anyway, they pulled it from that.
Mhm.
Um, and then the honeycomb and everything else is just a mishmash of everything. I am interested to see how these look on TV because on TV, and even if you're at the game, I think it's going to be more of a gradient look. Like you're not going to. I don't think you're going to be able to see the definition of like the honeycomb up top.
Not
It's
unless you
going
have
to
one of those
be more
sick
of a fade,
8K TVs that come out of the ground.
right? Unless maybe hopefully a rich friend will take me back. I'll be able to see it up front,
Elon
but
Musk will
otherwise,
be able
no.
to see it.
So I think overall they've gotten a collective thumbs up. I mean, it's a lot. It is a lot, and they're not boring.
But I think people have relented. I don't think the consensus was, "Yes," like it was for Mint City. People, when they saw Mint
Oh
City,
yeah,
that was a
no,
collective, "Here, take my wallet."
yep,
I feel like this was more maybe half and half, and then the half and half it's essentially what you did, I think is what the collective fan base did was
you
half of
sat
the
with
people
it,
are like, "Ooh," and half of the people are like, "Yes," and then about, 40% of the people who said, "Ooh," said, "Alright, I get it."
no. Well,
And
let's look at this.
I'm still in the 10% of "Ooh." I just think I understand what they had to do, but I thought they could do it in a way that wasn't they mished too much mash, and I like
Mm.
Tyler's comment here that it's a little too busy. I think it's a lot too busy. I just
Oh,
think
it's
there's too
busy.
much stuff going on. No one will remember. The thing is, like, the greatest way to celebrate 75 years of the NBA and 30 plus years of the Hornets franchise is by making a jersey that people will remember 5 years from now. Nobody's gonna remember this jersey. That's the cool thing about Min City is that I think
Mm.
people will scream for that to come back as quickly as possible. And honestly, I think this whole idea kind of points to a larger problem with some of these jersey releases, which they have to come up with something new every
That's
year.
what I was gonna say. That's what I was gonna say.
That's
Like
hard.
this was a hard homework assignment for a lot of teams, and a lot of teams just said, "Nah, we're gonna run it back. The same thing we did last year. The Phoenix
I wouldn't have
Suns.
faulted the Hornets for that, honestly, because
I
we
wouldn't
just
have
got done.
either.
The Hornets have just gotten done like with this 30-year anniversary. I mean, we've been through all of this stuff. So that's the thing. It doesn't even mean as much because we're kind of historied out. And the Hornets are ready to focus on the future.
That's a good point. That's a great point. But yeah, and I had I had an easy layup to play off of the Mint City from last year. I think you just flip it and you go gold as the bold one as the main color, and you fill it in with some mint or some teal or whatever you want. They keep that one. That's a free one for you guys over at the Spectrum Arena there.
Just lick the envelope and send that
That's
one
right.
on over. Yep.
Now, another thought I had is they've got to figure out some way one of these years, Doug, to do a uniform that is basically inspired by a takeoff of representing the starter jacket, right? Like it's too iconic, and I understand that the starter jacket is a takeoff of the actual jersey, but like you got to figure out some way to like take that, whether it's the sheen or whether it's the lettering or something that just says, "Hey, every kid had this in the 90s. It was the biggest fashion statement in sports in that decade. All these teams that now have teal in their colors have so because of the Hornets and Alexander Julian. Like that'd be cool if they figured out some way to do that with the uniform.
Could you
Black,
do something with the like warm ups,
yes, you
instead of the
could.
jersey? Like do that with the warm up. I would buy that. I'd buy that in a
Black with
hot second.
mint. So yeah, black always looks good with the teal, but I'm so glad they went away from black, gray, black, gray, black. Like they did that for so many years. The gray was horrible. They should never go back to gray.
Yeah, well, producer Katie said that when she saw the uniform. She's like, "I'm not really about it, but it's
At least
better
it's
than
not.
the gray ones." And I'm like, "That's
Yes.
the lowest possible bar you could set." Like the gray ones were just an unmitigated disaster. Yes, it's sorry. These jerseys are not an unmitigated disaster. They're tacky. I think these
They're
jerseys are tacky and not tacky in a
Yeah, but
fun
they're
way. They're
no,
tacky in
they're
a
way fun. It's tacky in a kitschy way. Now, I will say this, black with mint and gold, like you could take that mint city vibe and you could flip it how many times you want. Black, gold, mint, white. Like you could run that back. So they've got that. They've got a good, 3 to 4 seasons of whatever they want to do with that color palette, I think. Because I think now they have mint, right? They have the mint in their back pocket whenever they want to pull it out. So yeah, I'd be fine with black with mint and gold at some point.
Yeah, it's just not necessary for the Hornets to go radically different every year. I mean, I think they found a couple of things that work.
I don't know.
What?
I think you're gonna like it. I think when it comes on TV and you see it, hopefully some
I'm
people will still be able
open-minded.
to
I'm
see it.
open-minded to that.
I
I
want to see what
won't
they do with the
totally
socks. I want to see if the socks are gradient with the honeycombs. Let's do it.
gradients. I mean, like it's like the worst part of 90s and early 2000s design. It's like it's a graphic design nightmare. I don't know.
Any other ones? Any other ones stand out to you? Like I think Miami's ransom letter is
Yeah,
horrible.
brought to you by the Riddler. Yeah, I wasn't really about that.
The Pelicans just said we don't have time for this. The place is burning down. We're here.
I'll give you my favorite, and my favorite did what I thought the Hornets should do, which is lean on some things that worked in the past, but not go all over the map, and that's Phoenix. Those Valley
They just
uniforms.
redid it though. It's a
Like,
redo.
okay, there's nothing
Nah,
there's
we've
nothing
seen it.
wrong with
We've
leaning
seen
on
it.
success.
Think of all the cool 90s, think of the Barkley era, the Thunder Dan era of the Suns. Like there's none of that in there. There may be a little element of that in there, but like I'm not mad at the digital thing, but they could
See,
even flipped it.
this was the perfect opportunity. When they do these jerseys, and we used to make fun of this. I don't know if it was on Locked On Hornets or something that you and I did, but all of this, like when they do the PR releases for these uniforms, and it's like this stripe represents the
Yeah.
foundation of our
Yeah.
team character. Like it's always
Exactly.
something really dumb like that.
Yeah.
This is an opportunity where you can bury those little accents very small, but the major idea looks cool. Instead, the Hornets like blew up in huge bits all of these different things, like the fact that the
Yeah.
lettering is Bobcat or the numbering is Bobcats, which by the way, the Bobcats numbers were stupid. Nobody liked those.
At what point I was asked this question? Shout out to Chris, also a new dad, so he's in your shoes there.
Yeah, we were
At,
chatting on Twitter about our new daddom because I
Yeah.
think we both became new dads, like, right
It was
at
about a
the
week
same
apart.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At what point do the Hornets can they go back and just say, "Hey, here's a throwback Bobcats uniform"? I told him my answer, but what's your answer? If they can.
Never? I
Yeah,
mean,
that was my first thought.
yeah, my first thought is never, but I mean,
'Cause my answer was
I can't think of one.
my answer was and maybe it's the same thing. My answer was after a championship, so we might be on the same
Yeah.
page.
But I saw you and Nada having a discussion about, like, where's the Carolina Cougar throwback? Like,
Yeah,
I'd rather see that before I saw a
and the
Bobcats
Bobcats
throwback.
actually did that. You remember that? The Bobcats actually did Cougars
Yeah.
uniforms, and the Cougars actually have several different iterations of their uniform. There's a really cool, like, green and blue one, that they could do, so hopefully they'll that feels like well, I guess some of these teams do like the ABA stuff, still without it being like a league wide thing. So yeah, I think that they should definitely revisit that the Cougars.
It's difficult. I mean, it's difficult to think about the fact that the Hornets have in their legacy this period of time. There's really nothing other than the drafting of Kimball Walker that you can actually really just hang your hat on and
Yeah,
appreciate and look back on fondly.
yeah. I mean,
And
I'd be fine if
so
they didn't. They never
right, I
did.
mean, those things leak into all of the elements. They leak into Rufus, they leak into the design of the uniforms.
R.I.P. Rufus.
So, I mean, they leak into that one weird
That
season
poor
of One
bastard.
Tree Hill. So they leak into all of this stuff. And you can't wash that putridity off of that. So I don't think that I will personally ever look fondly on even the NASCAR jerseys, which were silly.
Oh no 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 no.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't even look that's what I'm saying. I don't even appreciate
Mm-mm.
there's some things that were so bad it was good, and then there's some things that were just bad, and then those times were just bad, and I'd rather forget them. Because I wanna focus on the future, David, and the future is LaMelo Ball. The future is, now. So, I'm excited.
It's definitely now. It's definitely now. It's right in front of us.
Okay, we are going to, take a nap so that, we can stay we can stay awake, for this game against Golden State tonight. We are going to be back with you, next week to, recap this West Coast road trip. Thanks for hanging with us. For David, I'm Doug saying, "Go Hornets, go America, let's swarm Charlotte."